Okay, we're going to get started on our next object. We're going to be building a desk lamp, which that's going to start off with just a square that we're going to turn into a long rectangle. And remember, leave it a little bit bigger than what you actually want because we're going to be working with it. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to copy this and we're going to make another rectangle right on top of it. But this guy we want a little bit shorter and a little bit chunkier. We're just going to center him. Make sure you're right on center using your guidelines. And we're going to use a darker color for him. We don't want quite a black, but we want as close to a black as we can get without being black. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull up a circle. And we're going to flatten this guy out pretty significantly. And we're going to put him right here. And what we want to do is, you see how the circle has a curve? We want the outermost points of that curve to hang out beneath the line of that rectangle. Okay, that looks good. Next thing I want to do is we want to center, and then we're going to go to position and go to backwards. So this is the base of our lamp. And yet again, just like whenever we're talking about with the clock, if you prefer this lamp to look wooden, or you prefer this lamp to have more steps, or have some type of tiered thing going on, you can do whatever you want and make it your own. But this is just a good starting point for, what is something that's actually going to look like a lamp. Next thing we need is we need a rectangle. We need to make it nice and skinny. And we're going to give it a little bit of lean. And there we have an arm. Now, just like with our clock, since we're going to have a joint somewhere in the middle that is going to make the arm of our lamp, you need to be very conscious about how you set this up. And the reason why that is the last thing you want is to have something like this, where it is just completely off and it's not centered at all. Now, if you're going for something hyper modern or hyper artistic, is that perfectly fine? Of course. But we're going to try and just stick with some hard and fast rules. So we're going to pull this guy over here. We're going to straighten him out. Kind of lay him down like that. Take a copy of another circle. Squinch it in. Center it again. Change that to that almost black kind of gunmetal color. Make our other arm. Now here's where you can cheat a little. Lamps like this are meant to kind of bend in different directions and articulate in different directions. So it doesn't have to be, perfect, because, think about it. If you want it high, you want it low, you're going to have different angles depending on how you articulate that arm. And actually, if you want to end up putting in a couple different of these joints in there to give yourself even more wiggle room of how it was articulated, feel free to do that. But for right now, we're just going to work with this. And this is just a nice, everything's straight. We're going to go ahead and highlight everything. And here we go. We can come over and we can center as best we can. And technically we have a lamp with an arm. Now, this isn't perfect, because if you put the lamp bell, it's going to look straight down. It's going to look very fake. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this. We are going to have to rotate this, but we're going to have to eyeball as best we can to try and stay in the center of that circle. And that's where things are really going to get difficult. So we're going to go ahead and group this. We're going to pull up a guide block. We're going to make it a very bright yellow. We're going to get this guy out of the way. And we're going to hit the center right here. So our goal is going to be to try and center this angle half and half on that line that we made there. Let's see how that looks. I don't think we're quite there yet. How about that? And we really can't find a perfect solution. So what I would recommend there is just come down and use your arrows on your keyboard, your left, right, up, and down arrow, as a way to kind of get you a little bit closer to that happy spot. And I'm just kind of doing this by feel now. And then I'm going to position backwards. And there we go. I have the arm of my lamp. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build the head, which is going to be this figure right here. And we're going to flip him around. Now this is going to kind of be difficult because if I take the head of my lamp and I angle it in some weird angle and I throw it up there, that doesn't look right. So we're going to try and just use our eyeballs as best we can to figure out what's going to be the lie of that lamp. An easy thing to do is take the flat part, not the rounded part, and put it up against this bar and see if you're relatively close. And if you are, it's going to look good enough. Not perfect, but it's going to look good enough to believe that's real. Then we're going to take another square. And our angle here was at a 160, I believe. Yeah. And we're going to tilt this guy. Try and match it exactly the same. Go to that gunmetal color. And we're just going to do our best to kind of line that up. And if we need to, we'll zoom in. And we'll make a guide block, which is just simply taking a square. And I probably should have done this before I zoomed in, but it's not the end of the world. And we're going to make him a bright yellow. And we're going to match that same 160 angle. And we're going to see how far apart we are between our bell shape and our rectangle shape. And yet again, use your arrow keys if you have to kind of line those up as best we can. That's pretty on the money. So that's the size of this little area. So now we're going to take him, plop him over here. And we're really close. We're just barely off. Cool. And now our lamp is going to look a little bit more perfect. So there we have a desk lamp. Now, in some desk lamps, the bulb is proud, which means it sticks out past the shade of the head. In some lampshades, the bulb is back, behind the lampshade. You need to decide what's best for you. So how you make a bulb, if you want to use a bulb in your image, is you're just going to make a circle. You're going to flatten it out just a scooch bit. Line it up. Yet again, we're looking for that same angle, that 160 angle. And just kind of plop it in there. And then you can make it white or yellow. Because we have a white background, I'm going to make it yellow. Send it back. And you want to create some transparency. And the reason why that is because it's light and bulbs are clear glass. So that gives you that kind of bulb look. Now, what I found looks better as opposed to doing the yellow is doing white, especially if you have a darker background or any type of vibrant colored background where there's going to be a lot of contrast. In general, the bulb is a personal preference thing. Some projects I've done, I've liked the bulb. Some projects I've done, I've hated the bulb. So I'm just going to tell you to kind of feel that out as you go. For right now, we're going to leave it in because I don't think it looks too bad. And we're going to take this guy, and what I'd like to do is I would like to group it all together. If it'll let me. And it will. Copy. Come over here to our storage, paste, shrink them down, and throw them over here. And that is our desk lamp.